Hi, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is Our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 170 today. Yep. Big round number. It's amazing. And we would like to share with you today what we've been doing. And just honestly, that really feels like it's all it's been, but to be fair, this is a kind of a really interesting season. The weather has drastically changed since last week to this week. Yeah. Last week we had snow. It was quite cold. It was rainy. It was just It
was gloomy.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what? It's okay. She got it. I don't need to keep trying to add things. Anyway, now we practically have all the snow gone. Not only did the rain do that, but the warmer weather. And
yay, spring is coming.
And we're in a situation where the time changes happen. It really feels like we're going into spring, and it's really starting to be quite nice outside. My dog's able to actually enjoy herself again. My kids are really getting excited about how much it's much more enjoyable to be outside, a lot less work to get their stuff on to go outside, snow pants and the like for school, and just how casual it feels. And it just tends to put a pip in every step, like a bit of a more energy and a little bit more joy. And with that, I feel like that kind of creates this feeling of opportunity. The idea of spring cleaning is not just about cleaning the house. I mean, it is, but it doesn't have to just be that. I feel like there's a thing where winter kind of creates this feeling of being stagnant, because you're in one place, in one position for so long. Yeah. Because the cold keeps you still and very, we kind of go into our own little hibernation. And so there's a sense of when the warmer weather perks us up, we have this feeling of we can do it. We can really just go and do what we want and get out our, not just our wiggles out, so to speak, like I say to the kids, but just everything. We're able to it feels like you can just do everything and change everything and get things done. And that's very important because, the motivation of this time of year is so important. We don't realize how impactful the weather can be until it hits and we feel like, man, this external feeling of happiness, this big warm hug is just coming upon us, and we just feel like, yes, I can, sunshine. Thank you for the reminder. So, and with that, my mom definitely has a very springy, lively blanket to share with us today.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago when we went to Joann's, I bought a cart full of big twists. And it was very fun. It was very fun, and I was thinking that I would make it into a great big blanket for my bed. A very spring-like blanket for my bed. And I thought, well, I could make it a scrappy blanket, but that isn't going to get the focal point as much as this design does. So I'm doing a granny stripe. I'm changing the yarn every row, and it's really making it pop.
It's really pretty.
And so I'm doing 5 rows of solid and 1 row of, let me get it, of Rainbow Bright.
Okay.
So
I love. Okay, so I know that my mom probably plans to explain this, but every single different color change inside this big twist of Rainbow Bright, she found the exact solid whole skein in Big Twist of each color. Yes. So she is using that as a means to tie into the blanket, and it's just absolutely brilliant.
So here it is. And I am enjoying this so much. And I love just how the colors are playing with each other. And I'm not doing this in any specific order except that I'm doing 5 solids and 1 Rainbow Bright row, and then another 5 solids and another Rainbow Bright. And because I did get 8 of those Rainbow Brights, they are smaller skeins, so I may be able to get 3 rows out of each of them. I think that's about what it would be. So far I've gotten the bottom chaining, and the first row was in the Rainbow Bright, and then I've gotten a couple more. Maybe it'll be 4 rows that I'm able to get out of each skein, and that's more than enough. I have more than enough. So and I'm just having a ball figuring out the next color and going, and I have a great big tin.
Oh yeah, it's like a big. It's a big. It's almost like a fake hay tin, like a big.
Yeah. And I put all of what I could in of the skeins into it upright, so that I could just pull from the middle. And I'm just pulling from that, and I have a side table that has the table on top and then a shelf on the bottom. I put the yarn basket, tin, whatever that is, down on that shelf, and I'm pulling from that to crochet my blanket with. So I'm just picking a color, pulling from it, and crocheting with it. Now I'm using a 5mm hook. I'm using the Granny stripe, which is doing double crochets, 3 double crochets in each space across, and it's making it really, really beautiful, bright. I'm making it so that there's overhang on my queen size mattress, and it's going to be for our bed when I get done with it, and it'll be nice for the spring and summer to have something that's a little less heavy than the blankets that we have on there right now. I made a nice scrappy heavy blanket for the winter, but this will be nice for the spring and summer months ahead, to have something a little lighter and a little brighter. So, what have you been working on?
Nothing. So, to be very fair, the reason my head has been facing down is because I've been reading a pattern so that I can get back into my square that I really wanted to be done this week so that you guys could see its potential. And I didn't intentionally mean to just ignore it. It was much more of a... This week was kind of fast in some ways. The weather...
It has been fast.
The weather changing kind of created this feeling of opportunity. And my children both have been digesting reading so much that a lot of my spare time has been focused on being with them and teaching them to read and focus on their growing.
They are grasping it so quickly, and it's so nice.
And then you also have I don't know, it's been one of those things where it's like, as the opportunity comes, take it. And that's how it has felt recently. Everything has been in that kind of a vein. And so I have been kind of doing that. I've been reaching out. I've been getting that done. And that has led to me really... I know that to some of you, maybe this is not a hobby that you've ever picked up, but video games has been my pause of choice. It has not been my crocheting, because this feels much more of a, I'm sitting down, I'm preparing myself for this, and if I get interrupted, then I have to try to de-escalate all the stuff that I've escalated onto this moment of pause. And whereas video games is, I pull it up, I start it, I pause it, what do you need, kid? You know, it's one of those things. That's not the same for everybody. I mean, I could choose to read and do that, because that's just as easy to pull up, read, pause, stop, what do you need? And I know that that's what I was doing for a while too in the beginning of the year. I guess where I'm at in my life, needing to have those other hobbies that I have on standby to fill my time in between the void spaces, for myself to be able to have those things that are quick changes are helpful, because with all the running that I do and all the stops and goes that I do, that makes more sense, I guess, for me right now. It recharges me. It gives me a moment to just myself, and time that I'm investing in just for me. And this is something that is just as important to me, but it's one of those things where I feel like I want to have time for it. I don't want to be in the middle of a row and then stop. I want to.
Oh, I know.
I want to finish. It's like reading it to the end of a chapter, but it's easier to put a bookmark into a chapter than it is to, I need to make sure I have a stitch marker. I need to make sure that I don't forget anything, that all my stuff gets back in my bag, because God forbid the dog knocks it over or the kids run it over, and then I don't know where anything is, and then what hook size was that? What was this? Where was I in the pattern? I have to count my stitches. And it's, again, very kind of almost first world problems, I am lucky to be able to choose what I do sort of problems. It's just one of those, where I'm at right now, it's been easier to do that, but I have been really wanting to do this. I've been telling myself every single day this week, stop what you're doing and pick up that block. Let's see what it looks like finished with these colors. And, so I am doing it right now, and I love it. You know, like I said, you can't really see it. I'm adding purple right now. This purple right here is now the border. It's kind of hard to see, you can see right here. It will be much more. There's 2 rows for each color for the border, and there's only 4 more rows, and then the square will be fully, or however the shape is going to be, will be fully completed.
It's really pretty colors.
On the opposite side, I have been doing my tucking in my ends as I go, because you have to stop the color, so there's no reason in my head that you don't just get that done every single row.
It's a lot less to do at the end.
I know that there's been a conversation between what do I do. The colors, some of these colors were from Big Twist, some of them were trolled on by my children saying that this looks like a turkey. There's a lot to consider here. My reputation's on the line for my family, and so another thing I've actually been thinking about is having a backer for this blanket. Now, I know that like with quilting, you do the top in vibrant shapes and intrinsic patterns, where it's very, almost like it can be very perfectly symmetrical, like mandalas. Others can be a landscape. Others can be kind of like a picture story. I mean, everything can be how it is. It's very beautiful. It's I always call crafting with yarn coloring with yarn.
Yeah.
People color with paint, people color with crayons, people color with pencil. This is coloring chalk. This is for me coloring with yarn. Some people color with fabric.
Yeah. That's
how I call it, because it's just, in my eyes, it's an art. It's the same way. It's just your choice of material.
Yeah.
And in saying that, when my mom was a quilter for decades, at least one full decade.
Yeah.
And she had a business out of it. She did a lot of things, a lot of commissions, just like I do for this work. And normally you create a front that's quite the focal point, and then you kind of have a in-between Normally some sort of batting or some sort of lining that kind of creates structure and warmth and cushion to the blanket. And then you have the back that holds it all in place. Normally, not only does it create the sandwich effect, but it also normally rounds off and borders it in some way. If that's how you choose to border it. Sometimes you would do like the ribbon borders, but in the end, there's a border and it's normally sandwiched atop the stuffing and then the backing. I'm considering doing a backing to this blanket. Reason why. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this. Because of the way that I'm doing it, I'm making sure that it's very structured. But there's a feeling of, I feel over time, if toenails or whatever or fingers end up getting caught and this stretches over time, it's going to wear fast.
Yeah.
I plan for this blanket to be something that is loved in my family. This is something I really want to be loved in my family. And so I thought that maybe just getting a plain fleece blanket, very specifically fleece.
Okay.
Or a flannel. Like a flannel. One of those, fleece or flannel. And I want it in one solid color. And then I do it to its exact shape. I sew the border. And then I will find focal points that I pin it down on the back. So that all this work of keeping the layers intact are protected.
Yes.
And that the front can be appreciated without the back being torn up when it's pulled up.
Yeah.
Because it can be very warm. It will be protected. It'll be easier to prevent staining, in my opinion, in some ways, because I can focus on that point. Put it, and it also will make it safer to wash because
I was thinking the same thing.
And if it's going to be loved by my kids, it's going to need that. It's going to be less destroyed by my cat and my dog if there's more structure to it. Because like if I make every single one of these points and the little squares that are in the middle a spot where I poke in and pin it to the back, is going to be perfect. And I was just thinking, like, I really think this is a good idea.
Yes.
And so I have a piece of skin stuck to my lip and it's bothering me while I'm talking. And of course, I got it! Yay! Sorry, that was just bothering me. But it's one of those things where it's something that I have been genuinely thinking of while I've been playing my game. Just because I'm playing my game, I do tend to multitask in my brain. And that this blanket's been something I've been honestly thinking about. I keep thinking, how can I make this not only a blanket that my family's going to love, but a blanket that will last?
Yes.
Because my great-grandma on my mom's side and my grandma on my dad's side, both made stark white or off-white blankets that are staples. I remember seeing them on the back of furniture, whether it was the back of the couch or whether it was hanging off of a rocking chair. Yeah. And those blankets were a work of art. I love them. I always thought that they were absolutely gorgeous. And yes, were they a staple of the time? Yes. A lot of families, especially going through the 70s, liked, and when you look at old 70s, I shouldn't say old, when you look at 70s crochet and knitting books that the things that they would say, hey, this is what is the most popular way of using this craft at the time, whether it be the wearables that they would make or the items that they would make functional to the home or just decoration in the home. Those blankets were so popular, that type of blanket. Yeah. But my grandmothers were classy. They did it in white. They did not do it in very bright colors like how I'm doing it. They did white. And a part of me wonders if that was because it was cheaper. I want to look up if dyed yarns were more expensive back then. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because white was probably the easiest to get, because you just take the wool or whatever material and you bleach it. That probably was the cheapest, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just blowing out my butt, but it's one of those things where I wonder if colored yarns at the time were not only harder to get by, and so getting enough to do a blanket was easier to do in white.
Or maybe they just were following the pattern, and the pattern maker made it in white.
I don't know, and I'm not trying to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a thing I keep thinking about looking up, because I'm wondering if because I realize that in my day and age, going to Joann's and having Joann's clothes feels like such an inconvenience, because we have so many colors, and I want to be able to look at the colors and feel the yarn and da-da-da-da. And I keep thinking, okay, that is a development over time in this craft, and this love of this craft that has become this way. I wonder what it was like only just a couple decades before, where was there that much availability? How was it to buy yarn at that time?
Right.
Was it something that was at the grocery? Sorry, my cat just scratched me. Was it something that you bought at from a farmer? How did it become what it is today? It's something I would really like to look up, because I wonder how, because if it was white, I would imagine that people in their own homes would learn to dye it themselves, because dyeing fabrics was always something that happened at home a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I wonder if yarn was just, a lot of people just bought white because then they could just color it themselves.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Because that's just stuff I remember reading when it came to doing your own clothes. A lot of people just had the stuff to be able to dye it themselves. So they would just buy a material and just work with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's something I'm very curious about, because, like I said, my grandmothers had those blankets. They felt like pieces of art that they made because they were so white, but yet they used them. Amazingly enough, no matter how much I thought that they were never to be touched or used, if someone was sick, that was the one blanket that they would grab to lay on you. Because it was a part of their hard labor and love that they made that blanket so that someone could use it when they weren't feeling good.
Wow.
And despite it being stark white, no one spilled anything on it. Because guess what? Grandma made it.
Yeah.
And if she was pulling her white blanket off to give it to you, that meant she cared.
Yep.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, I might not making a stark white blanket, but because it's not because I don't think people that won't care. My kids are young. I'm not expecting them to have that level of self-control, especially when I do let my kids bring some food to the couch. That's a choice I make. If my food was only at the kitchen table, then that would be different. But that's not a choice I make for my family as of right now.
Yeah.
Maybe later on, I might follow in that tradition and make a white blanket and do something like that to see if that's something I want to pass on to my children. Because those white blankets that I was lucky enough to keep are something that I treasure. And I would love to pass something like that on to my kids.
Yeah. So with that, we do have a quote. And it is, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. That was said by Seneca. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for a kindness. I think that is so beautiful. And just like Sarah was saying, we make these things partly because we are human, and we like to have the comforts and stuff, and that is a kindness to ourselves and to others to be able to make these things, and to be able to comfort other people when, like, say they're sick or whatever, like she was just saying. The grandmas used to cover you with their blankets on their couches when you were sick and they were watching you. And so I just think as human beings we like to comfort each other, and that's part of the reason I think I love just making blankets in general. The quilts I used to make and the Afghans I make now. It's a comfort thing. It's it speaks to me of home and cozy and comfort and all the things that make us humans want to be kind to each other. So, what do you think about that?
I remember a long time ago you said that blankets were a hug that you give to somebody
Yes.
from far away.
Yes.
And so when you built quilts and you built blankets through crochet, you've always said that this is your way of hugging people you'll never get to meet, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that means something. I mean, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for a kindness. I remember I had this epiphany the other day. There are places in this world, like hospitals, that are built for getting better.
Yeah.
They are built for people who are sick to get better. There's places like the grocery store where you find food. There's places where, to learn, like universities and schools, where it's built to learn. And I had this epiphany of, that means I get to choose what my home is. And I know that might seem silly, but because you would think, well, home is just where you lay your head. No. Home is a place defined by what you make it. Some homes are chaotic. Sadly, there are homes that going home is not a very peaceful experience.
Right.
But I choose to make my home a place where when you come or when you visit me, you don't have to stress. It's a place for problem solving. It's a place for relaxing.
And calm.
It's a place for calm. It's a place to learn. It's a place to discover.
Yeah.
I have different places in my house that do different things for the people in it. But the one thing that I like is to make it a place to relax. I don't know how many times I've had people be like, "Can I come to your house? I need to talk. I need to wind down or whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, that's no problem." And I know that's something I have to fight for, because it's easy when you have a place that's nice to feel so comfortable in it that you think that it will always provide that comfort.
Yeah.
When that's something that you have to practice, and that's something that you have to embody, and that's something that you have to fight for. When a home is something that you can make it, when it's the one place in the world that you can design to be what you want it to be, when you're a crafter, that is an opportunity to pass a kindness to somebody.
Yeah.
And in my way, when I'm making my home fun and creative, or it sparks a smile, or I'm able to create stuff in the space I've created for creating in my home, where then I can pass that on, is because I've created space to be able to create things that produce kindness in my home. I get to make that choice. My home gets to be a place. I one last thing. Had this person who was like, and I'm very sad by this. It was a friend of mine. I grew up with her and her family, and when I was at their house, her dad would make jokes that would always result in something where when they would open up and be like, "I didn't really like that," he'd be like, "Well, I'm preparing you for the real world." That was always his way of saying it. He'd always, and anyway, I've come to terms with that. I have thought about that, and I've also watched people online that have talked about that. And just like this person I saw online, I cannot remember their name. I apologize. They mentioned, yes, am I supposed to teach my children about the world? Yes. But that does not mean I have to be the world to them. I'm supposed to be the one place where they don't have to have the world invade their lives. Mom and dad is a place that they can come for a hug, for some food, to sit on the couch, to relax. Does not mean that I don't teach them responsibility. Does not mean that my job isn't so that they can do life on their own. Right. It's not that I am doing everything for them, but that when they're in my presence, I'm supposed to give them a break.
Yeah.
From the world. I'm supposed to be that place that when they're with me, they are home.
Yeah.
They have a place to relax. My job is to prepare them for the world. Yes, I'm not to be the world to them. The world's going to do its job.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether we like it or not, the world is going to do its job. It has always done its job, and it does that to everybody. We are supposed to seize that opportunity to be that to our children.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that that is perfect for everybody, and maybe to you, if you don't have kids, maybe you can define what you want your home to be, and maybe that can be a place where your friends can come and create. You know, you could have a crafting group, and you can start giving them a space to craft if they don't have it in their home. Maybe they need a place to problem solve, so you give them a once a week, and you feed some teenagers that need a space to study, because guess what? They have a loaded house and there's no real calm space, and maybe you can help some kids get some studying on. Maybe kindness is a thing that we do, and it's a thing that we embody, and it's an opportunity that we make. Yeah. So for any of you that, you know, I might not have gotten a lot of creating done when it comes to my yarn crafts, but this week has been an opportunity of creating and teaching, and an opportunity of loving some friends that needed some place to stay, and being able to love my children by creating a space that is educational and loving. And I am excited for this opportunity to build a home, because me and my husband are looking at whether we're going to be staying here for a little bit longer, or whether we're moving, and whether we're actually looking at getting a bigger house or not, for very specific reasons. So because we're trying to decide what we're going to do, what our next steps are, because we come home and this is our place to problem solve and create.
Yes.
Kindness and opportunity to be able to escape from the world and being able to enjoy what we have, because we are able to create our reality.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, I was just thinking that kindness is a verb. It's something you do.
Yeah.
So, well, we're just we're going to ask you to like and subscribe, share with your friends.
And yes, I was just going to say thank you for joining us today. We are grateful to anybody who stays to the end of these videos, because we realize that even though we come to share our crafts, a lot of times we end more on
telling our stories.
So we appreciate anyone who likes to stick along for that section. We appreciate you. We love you. Share with us how, if there's any, wherever you are in the world, in the last week, has it been good weather?
Yeah. How did you handle the time change?
Yeah. A good question. I think that's an American thing.
Oh, I'm telling you right now, I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah.
And ever since it fell forward, it went forward, I have been trying to catch up.
Well, I heard the president is apparently discussing stopping the time change.
I would be okay with that.
Well, my husband said that he's not the first one. Apparently this has been going on for quite a while. He doesn't remember what president discussed it first, but the presidents since then have discussed it. But it seems like our right now might actually do something about it.
Okay.
In a day and a time where the time change made sense when it first was introduced, because you could only do things when the sun was up, there wasn't as much.
It was an agricultural thing.
Well, it was an agricultural thing. You could only really work when the sun was up. There wasn't electricity everywhere. You couldn't, and it was a way to be able to determine the day. It made sense. It allowed for us to be the most productive. Now we're on a satellite clock. Everyone has a clock on their phone.
Yeah.
We don't really depend on the daylight as intensely as we did before.
Right.
The people who are agriculturally built, they're going to adjust their work to that clock no matter what. It does not.
It can stay the same.
Yeah,
and
they have to adjust because they have to. That's their job. And so I don't know. I just think that's a very interesting conversation because I've never really considered it much thought. I just thought it was just something we did, not something we could choose not to do anymore. So, as always, thank you for joining us today. Hope that you enjoyed our video, and as always, we hope that you stitch your way
to mental health.